Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to be guided by angels and have your greatest year ever, then do we have the Angel Experiment show for you. Today I'll be talking with Corin Grillo, angel expert and the author of one of my all-time favorite books on angels, The Angel Experiment. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about how to call in your angels, get the help you need, and get guidance for the most incredible year and journey ahead. That plus we'll talk about three birds for one, synchronicities and coincidences, license plates and angel for you, singing to the angels, the importance of feathers and angel bumps, not to mention rooster feathers, and what in the world angel juju has to do with anything. So welcome back to the show, Corinne. Are you ready to shine?
You know I am, Michael. Always a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you here in a mighty woohoo.
Woohoo!
So, before we dive right into things, I know we've had you on the show before. We went through your whole history, but we got to touch base with this just a little bit. Did you really used to be the Walking Dead?
Oh my gosh, I was like the ultimate mommy zombie, to be honest. I was the a regular zombie, like the Walking Dead, and then I had children, and then I became an official mommy zombie, which was someone who was going through the motions, trying to do her best, but completely out of touch with her heart, with who she was, like with what I wanted. I quickly lost contact with my passions, my desires, and what filled me up.
How do, forgive me for asking this, were your kids trying to wake you up?
Well, I think when I was an official mommy zombie, at that stage only had one child. And I feel like our children are always trying to wake us up in one way or the other. I think in the way that she woke me up was that she gave me a different reason to live.
Mhm.
Uh, Before that stage, I was very depressed. Before I had a child, I was very depressed and really didn't mind if I left the planet or not, and often would pray to, I was super, again, depressed, suicidal, but not in a really aggressive way.
Yeah.
But it was just like, hey, if my life ended today, that would be amazing. So that would be fine with me. So what she did was at her birth,
Mhm.
she brought a different level of responsibility to me, which I didn't really embrace. I mean, I did embrace and I did my best to make it work, but there was so much in my past that I hadn't rectified that it felt like hard work, but it was refreshing to have a reason to live at least for someone else, if not for myself, because I wasn't living for myself just yet.
Gotcha. And it's interesting because we're recording this right before Christmas, and usually my days to record are Thursday and Friday, Christmas Eve and Christmas. So instead, I had to get to do interviews today. So I had Dr. John DeMartini of The Secret on earlier today, and we were
Mhm.
talking about being aligned with your values, having what is your reason to live, exactly what you're
Wow.
talking about.
Uh, well, there it is, right? There it is. And I think for, depending on your history and your trauma and whatever, and I had a very traumatic early life. I was really left with not really. I felt like a shell of a person from probably my mid-teens up till my mid-30s, where I was doing a lot of the right things. Like yeah, I went to college and I got married and got a house and had a kid, but I was still very much a shell of a person, and really struggling just to feel a sense of purpose. I guess is the best phrase about it.
That makes sense. It's interesting. So I'm doing a lot of dot connecting today. Be careful what you wish for. You wished for being dead, but you were really wishing for a new way of living.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think I wished that, and I remember waking up in the mornings because the weight literally it felt like an anvil on my chest every morning. And like, how can I never wanted to get out of bed. I didn't want to, and to be honest, no one knew what I was going through, but that was just my daily life. It's like, here's the anvil. I guess I'll see what I can do to push it aside to wake up again. Um, but there was no connection to life. It was just doing what I was supposed to do.
Until an angel who was your friend, probably still is your friend, came into your life and gave you, if I understand right, an angel reading.
Right. A human angel, right? Because spirit does work through us through people.
Mhm.
And she gave me that angel reading, and it was not just a reading, it was a healing. And I didn't really understand the power of energy or energy healing or the energy body. Um, but yeah, that was the turn that happened for me where it was like life opened up in a different way. Life opened up in a way that felt really magical, really precious, and there was this sense of this mystery. When we sometimes we watch movies where we see children opening up to the secret garden, and like all of a sudden there's magic and fairies, and that literally was what happened to me. It went from being a life of like struggle and what's the word, discipline, and having to
Drudgery.
drudgery. Yeah, I was having to do these things as opposed to getting to do them. And yeah, a different voice opened up inside of me that was not, for once, tyrannical, not trying to tear me down, not trying to talk me into thinking I was a horrible person, and started urging me to do things out of the box and different. And I experienced that as the angels, because that angel reading it was an angel reading. That's what opened me up. But I think there's many different ways that spirit will bring us medicine, and it wouldn't necessarily have to be angels. It could be a cataclysmic event. It could be a lot of things.
Been there,
But
done that.
right, no, I know your story, right? Your stories. um, but for me, the angels were, I guess, my entry point into finally not believing that I had to live life feeling alone, even if I was surrounded by people.
Thank you. And we're going to talk all about today communicating with the angels and communicating the angels for this upcoming year or time period whenever you're listening to this. But how did you start to get this communication going? It's one thing to have a healing, and it's another thing to have a highway of communication.
Yeah, I think it happens for people at different paces, but for me, with that miracle that happened to me, I just noticed a different voice, and I knew that I was at an opportunity where I could start listening to that voice, or continue to deny it. And the voice was really unique and special because it was inviting me to do really impractical things that were positive,
Tell me more.
right? So it was like, I remember the first decision that I made that was really like, wow, this is mind blowing to me, was that I wanted to learn more about angels because I had the miracle already, but I was a licensed psychotherapist at the time. So it was these two worlds that at the time seemed opposing opposites, because people that believe in angels and miracles are also sometimes in my in it at the time in
You can put them
my
in the DSM.
yeah, yeah, they're, diagnosable. So I was walking in both those worlds, and I had a choice, like, am I going to continue to pursue this regular path, be a psychotherapist, and everything is just about mental health counseling, or am I going to essentially start believing in miracles? And it took me a while, to be honest, to come forward or to be honest about the miracle that I had witnessed. But it was really the change on the inside of me that made me want to come out of the angel closet and start, like, if I felt or sensed angels in the room with my clients, eventually I started saying it out loud and said, "Hey, I feel like there's some presence here." And I would dance around it. And officially, I would just be like, "Hey, you want to hear some weird stuff? And are you open to this kind of thing?" And then always they say yes, because they're struggling. Maybe they haven't stopped crying in a year or have been deeply depressed. Like, yeah, I'll hear a message from a quote unquote angel. And So I started it with it very awkwardly, and I started owning it in my practice and sharing the message and the healing because I had had such my own personal radical healing, and it has nothing to do almost with what I learned in school.
That is so, so cool. So, the briefest version, because they can listen to the other show, but tell me about being, I'll call it in the hood, and what happened with a bird one day.
Okay, so the briefest version is that I had been for a few days opening up to the possibility that angels were real. I didn't know if they were real or not, but the angel healer said, talk to the angels as if they're real. So that's what I did. And all of these synchronicities started happening. And then a bird fell from the sky. I was going to a client's house. A bird fell from the sky, dropped on the street. I saw the bird. It had a mangled wing and I didn't know what to do, so I prayed for it. I was not, a huge prayer person before this, but I asked spirit and the angels to take the bird out of its suffering and before my eyes, this is totally truncated. As I prayed, I saw the bird divide into three tiny birds and fly away.
What does your mental health training mind tell you when one bird becomes three, one mangled bird becomes three and flies away, and there is no more mangled bird there?
Yeah, well, it tells me you could possibly be crazy and make sure to not tell your therapist friends about it on the one hand. And then on the other hand, I could feel the presence. I could feel an energy around me and incredible love. I don't have words for it. I write about it in the book, but it uh it was game changing. And at the same time, I still know that I was at a crossroads and I could have denied my spiritual experience because I didn't want to be considered crazy and flush down tens of thousands of dollars of my education because my license would get revoked because I'm talking about angels and magical thinking.
So, we have our automatic writing book coming out, as you know, January 29th.
Mhm.
And it was a book where I remember walking on the trails. I think Jessica had suggested it to me, but then the angels started talking to me
Oh,
and speaking louder and speaking louder and speaking louder and saying, "You need to get this book out." And I'm like, okay, I'm a mind, body, spirit coach, but nobody's going to take me seriously. This was my mind back then.
that's it.
If I
Yeah.
start writing about how you communicate with angels, with spirit, with guides, with whatever, I joke and call it a giant cheeseburger in the sky, nobody's going to take me seriously. But they wouldn't stop. So, what was kind of the, the pressure you were getting that, okay, it's time to
Yeah.
flush it, which isn't flushing your education, it's actually taking it to a higher level?
Yes. Yeah, but at the time when you're in a certain you're still in a certain mindset and you're still accepting the cultural pressures or your it's peer pressure in a different way.
Yeah.
Um, what it was for me is consistently seeing the miracles that were happening in my own life by communicating with angels all of a sudden. And it was very subtle in the beginning. It's not like, hey, Archangel Michael, and he hands me a sandwich and we start talking. It's just like this feeling inside of
Mhm.
you that comes, but like you said, keeps coming, keeps coming. And I think it was really when I would uh, it start talking about it ever in small portions with the clients that had been coming to me for a while where I had um we had been maybe therapist client for 6 months or a year. There's a level of trust where that's where I'm like, hey, you want to try? And then
I love it.
and then, just try something weird. And then it's when they started having the same kind of powerful mental health and heart level miracles
Yeah.
in their life, healing in their relationship, that was the biggest change for me because then I can put my own experience maybe in a box like I try to, but when people coming into your life, when you start praying for them or asking, the spirit to come and intervene on their behalf. And, there's one woman who brought her daughter into me who had chronic anxiety disorder. And she was having panic attacks in high school and fainting. And it was a daily thing. And she knew me from a friend. And she said, well, I hear you talk to angels. Do you think they can help? And I'm like, I don't know. Let's give it a shot. So I worked with her with Archangel Michael,
Mhm.
and I taught her how to do what I had been doing. Again, I didn't have training. I had just been doing what I had been guided to do, and she did it and for a couple of weeks with me, and I was like her coach for a couple of weeks, and then her anxiety disappeared. And as a matter of fact, just a few short years later, she became a model, runway model, traveling all over the world. Social anxiety disappeared. And they go, wow, it's because she connected with her guardian angel and also working these practices.
So, can we all of us, no matter how linear, no matter how much we don't have a quote talent, can we all communicate with angels?
Yes, and I think more important than whether or not you have talent or not, we don't have to be officially religious or ascribe to a specific religion. So I feel like the angel world, in a sense, for years had been hijacked by the popular religions that were talking about angels. Like Christianity or Judaism, and even the Muslims like include a little angels. Um, but my perspective from angels is that they are non-denominational. They are for all people. It doesn't matter whether you believe or not, because I was not a believer at the time. I was living the opposite of a religious life. And to be honest, I'm still non-religious. I celebrate life. I from work with spirit, I have become more, what's the word, celebratory of nature, more connected to nature. I'm in more communion, I guess, with life.
Mhm.
But that did not come from a religious perspective. And just because I had this miracle did not dictate that now I had to, like, you know, be call myself at least a religious person, if you know what I mean. There's a difference.
That makes total sense to me because I certainly wouldn't call myself religious at this point,
Right.
but I want to be connected to spirit. I want
Yes.
to be connected to the angels or to remember that the connection is always there in each and every moment.
Yeah, and I think, what I realized from my own life is that because I was not a religious person, I cut myself off from thinking that I had helpers too, because, well, I don't go to church on Sundays and I don't necessarily believe the way that I know other Christians believe. And, I cut myself off. And I think that's the danger, or that's the sadness for me. And that's actually part of why I do what I do, is deconstructing how we grew up to think like only these people get this kind of support. And from my perspective, you do not have to convert. You have support no matter who you are, no matter what part of your path you're on. And if you choose to convert to whatever religion, doesn't matter, that's fine too. But it's not required. You can, like in my case, be authentic. I have a potty mouth. I still have a potty mouth. I'm not religious, but my heart has exploded and expanded. And I feel like that's what this thing does. It just opens your heart to be inclusive to other people,
Mhm.
but most importantly, inclusive to those parts of yourself that you feel ashamed of.
I can't help. I'm not really distracted, but Jessica is in the background right now. And we are both very plugged into spirit and plugged into angels. And I don't know what she's doing, but she's playing with light
I
behind
can see
us.
the dancing. I can see the dancing of the lights behind.
And I have no idea what she's doing, but this is connected to spirit, is the best way that I can call it. I think what she's doing is the sun is starting to come low and it's going to come beaming into my eyes, and she is working to block a little of the light, but it is just what you do, what I do, what we're encouraging other people here today to do is to plug into that impulse, plug into that intuition. And when we hear stop for the bird, for instance, stop for the bird. When we hear go do something with a light, to go do something with a light. And when we're unsure, to plug in and ask, hey, angels, can you give me a hand here? Where do I go from here?
Yeah, where do I go from here? And I think it's so funny that you're seeing dancing lights, because this moment in time, I mean, I know that people in the future are going to listen to this, but this moment in time when we're recording this is all about light. It's all about a new light approaching us and us being able to watch the dancing lights and harness our energy toward that magic and invite in more light into our lives.
And I love that because we're recording on solstice. And to me, and I was writing about this with Spirit yesterday. It was fascinating. I gave a great teaching last night on a YouTube Live that I had no idea was going to come through me.
Yeah.
And I do that more and more, and that's plugging into the angels. But it was about at the darkest time is when our light shines the brightest because you can't see a flashlight in the middle of the daytime.
No. Yeah. And that's when we see the dancing lights, and then that's our choice. You follow the dancing lights. And for me, the first dancing lights was that miracle. And I could choose to follow those lights, follow those breadcrumbs that spirit was giving me it would eventually become the most incredible medicine ever towards my soul. I could have left that miracle behind me, but following those dancing lights has brought so many more miracles. My life today is so, I can't even believe what I get to do for a living. And it's because I do my best to keep following those dancing lights.
Thank you. I love that. So, why are the dancing lights here?
The dancing lights, from my perspective today, it could change a few years from now, are to help us remember good medicine, medicine for the soul. And my perspective is that, it's not just a perspective, it's just like what I understand at this stage in my communion with angels is that we started off as incredibly luminous beings
Mhm.
that came into these meat suits and and then we have this um, anesthesia, mental anesthesia or hypnosis that makes us forget. And so to me, these lights are here like medicine. If we follow these little light, it's almost like little fruits, little berries. If we consume them and enjoy them and accept them, that it helps us to not necessarily reawaken to become a divine human, but it gives us medicine to not just survive this 3D learning, this game that we're in, but helps us to thrive. And so the dancing lights are here, like I said, for every single person. I feel like it's non denominational, it's not based on religion. Some people call them angels, some people call them other things in other cultures, but throughout history and time, we know that there have always been accounts of benevolent beings that are here to support us, to be whatever you want to call them, messengers
Mhm.
or healers. For me, I didn't feel like they were messengers in the beginning. They literally helped me heal my past as much as was possible at the time to help me move forward. Now it's still a work in progress. It's always a work in progress, but these dancing lights, you can watch the dancing lights or you can follow the really crusty fear-based stuff that's getting thrown at us right now.
Perfect timing. A lot of fear-based stuff is being thrown at us. You're in California, I'm in California. It's lockdown city here, but around
Right.
the world you've got emergency lockdown in the UK and South Africa, all sorts of crazy stuff going on. But we can call on these angels or whatever we want to call it. I came up with this idea while you were saying it, a vitamin A with a capital A. We're getting our vitamins from
I
the
love it.
angels. So we can call in and say, I need your juju right now. I need your help. I need your strength because things are getting so wonky. I can't do it alone.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's why they're there. And I feel like this year, if it's done anything for a certain handful, hopefully a larger handful than than others, like I'm hoping it's a huge swath of people. They start looking for inner, deeper resources, and they stop watching the 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 theater
Yeah.
that's happening and start listening to that different voice. And there is an undercurrent of huge transformation, and it doesn't have to have a negative thing. But there's one thing that I really brought in. I talked to one of my communities today about this energy that's coming into us for 2021 and probably longer, and it is that your ability to remain flexible in times that seem extreme is going to mean your resilience. And I feel like that these little dancing lights are helping us with resilience and helping us to be flexible with our minds.
Couldn't agree more. And you just so many different lights are going off inside of me. So you said inner opening, and something that occurred to me is, well, I'm thinking about, first off, if you haven't seen it, when you get a chance, watch the movie Saint Ralph. It's about a boy whose mom is dying, and he gets a visit from an angel or from God who says, "Run the Boston Marathon, Ralph." And he's 14 years old. When you win the marathon, it will be the miracle you need for your mom to live. And so he goes on this quest at 14 years of age. It's a fictitious movie, but it's pretty awesome, trying to win the Boston Marathon. And he goes to the father who's been coaching him. So one of his school teachers is a father, and says, "Father, for a miracle to happen, you must believe, you must have faith, you must pray." He goes, "But I don't believe and I don't have faith." And the father turned to him and said, "Don't worry, my son. At mile 20, everyone becomes religious."
Oh my God, so good.
And it occurs to me, the angels are waiting to help us individually, but they're also waiting to help us as a collective to ascend, to rise up, not to leave this planet. I don't believe we're going to all of a sudden become, we're here incarnate for a reason, guys.
We're here for a reason, people.
And it's not to leave here, it's to actually do something here and learn here. But they're waiting for, as you called it, an inner opening, a door opening, so that we ask for them and then they can come in and help us transform. And I believe from a very positive, that's what's going on now. We are hitting mile 20 of the collective, and we're going, "God help me, Spirit help me. I don't know if they're angels, but angels, if you're out there, help me." And they're like, "Aha, our chance."
Yeah, people are listening. Oh, I love that so much. And, it reminds me of you asked me a question earlier about, what part of my shift was. And it was listening to those impractical moments where, okay, people are dying. You want me to go run what's that have to do with anything?
Bingo.
It's an impractical advice. And sometimes that's what the light and the dancing lights, it's like taking us off in this other direction that has nothing to do with the trauma at hand and or the obligation at hand. And in my case, it was they urged me to go learn more about angels. So I did that in the form of taking myself to Hawaii on a week-long vacation to go learn about intuitive angel
Vacation.
healing. I know. And so I talked to my husband, and he's like, "Oh, heck no. We don't have money for that," because our house was going into foreclosure. We didn't have money. We were in serious credit card debt. And but I was like, "Well, all the trail is leading me to go to Hawaii and learn more about angels." And he's like, "Well, are you going to be an angel healer?" And I was like, "Oh, heck no. Gosh, I'm a therapist. Like, what am I going to do with being an angel healer? Never anything ever." But I just feel drawn to it, and it just feels like the right thing. And sorry, I can't bring you guys. So I took myself on, and I had never traveled alone
Yeah.
to take myself on this level of investment with no cash. No, sorry, my daughter was like 4 years old. I never left my daughter. Like, all of the things that were the roles that I played were at confronted by this one decision. And it's just because I wanted to party with angels. It wasn't because I wanted to make a new career. It was so impractical. And here it is. Here's what I'm doing. It's about 10 years later. And it's like we never know like why we're being asked to do something, but it's important sometimes to listen at least once to that voice.
I woke up in, what was it? Spring 2004. I'd been training to become, I was top 10 in the country at that point on sprints on the track, 200 meters on my bicycle. And I had a dream in the middle of the night in February or March of 2004. And that dream said, "You're going to ride across the country on your bicycle for students and adults with attention deficit disorder." And I'd been writing a book on that, but it was nowhere near completion. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to ride a bike across the country for students, adults. I'm going to oh my God, I'm going to ride. And I was doing the math, and it was something like 10,000, and it probably turned out to be many more than that, 10,200-meter sprints I had to do to get across the country. And I was a big boy sprinter at this point. But I listened to that intuition. I sold all of my racing gear.
Oh,
I've never really returned to the sport since then. I tried a tiny little bit years later, but the heart wasn't there. But I sold all of my gear and I followed that intuition and did it. How do we know when that's an intuitive hit from the angels versus we're in la la land?
yeah. I mean, I think my best answer is that, especially in the beginning, your best answer for that is to do it anyways. You just try it and then see if it works out. Because, sometimes it doesn't. To be honest, sometimes it's like, okay, well, that didn't officially work out, but usually it does work out in one way or the other. But I feel like people who are particularly need an extra sense of safety in the
Mhm.
world need to be invited to step out of the box and develop their deeper resources. So I don't have a hard, fast answer. I can say if you have this keep on coming back to you, it's definitely worth a shot. If it's a fleeting thought and doesn't come back to you, just maybe write it down. And if it keeps on coming back, or maybe you get signs around it. But for me, there was a few signs around that first big leap.
Mhm.
These days, though, to be honest, Michael, now my intuition, what spirit shows me is like, just follow your joy and we will catch your back.
I love that. And I understand how difficult that is early on. I rode my bicycle past a couple in the neighborhood yesterday. And I was like, oh, I really want to go and say hi. But I was about to do a YouTube live. And I'm like, but I feel this call. I feel this pull. And so I got home and I said, all right, angels, I felt something there. If I'm supposed to meet these people, put them back on my path. Now, I haven't really left the house other than taking the rooster for a walk quite literally earlier today. But I'm convinced if it's meant to be because I asked for it in that way,
Yeah.
they will be put back in my path.
Mm, beautiful.
How do we connect? How do we ask the angels to come into our lives, to take an active participatory role, particularly as we're heading into the new year, and say, help us. Our new logo is a phoenix rising from the ashes. Help us to rise from the ashes.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I've been talking about more towards the end of this year after experiencing 2020 is that there are certain things that we can do to make ourselves more loud and attractive to our spirit helpers. And there's angels and there's other allies like our ancestors and really nature and all of these things. And so Um, I feel like now more than ever, it's important to have a dedicated practice. And so before maybe you catch people, catch spirits' attention and they give you a moment of grace. And when we have this moment of grace, that it should be our priority to be dedicated and stay in that vein. And even if you don't believe in an invisible posse on any level, that today's your day where you start believing it's a possibility and start inviting them um, in an extraordinarily significant way because we need support on all levels right now.
It's interesting because I like to say about 2020, going into 2021, about getting in alignment, if not now, then when. But along those lines, what have you got to lose? Okay, it seems weird. It seems funny. You put it out there. You ask for help. If nothing happens, you go, see, I was right. And if something happens, you go, see, that's a miracle. Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you literally have nothing to lose. I was just talking to a woman in one of my communities. It's called the Inner Sanctum. And she had a really powerful year this year. And, there's people who really had a hard year, majorly hard year. She had a hard life. And she actually lost her son last year. I can't even conceive of anything harder than that, right? Losing your child. And she said by really dedicating her practice to talking to angels, to doing the work that, I do in my communities, or maybe similar work that you do, she had an encounter with none other than Jesus, which to her caught blindsided her. She wasn't expecting that. That's not what she was asking for. And she had a full healing of her heart and was able to alchemize her pain, was able to not deny her pain, not sink deeper into her pain, but to use her pain towards her power and eventually towards her service. So now she's a woman who feels like she has a purpose to help others come back to life after trauma and devastation. And I think that that's what this is about. 2020 is going to really show you, shine the light into the shadow of where we need to work. That's what light does. It shows us our shadow. And then it's up to us how much we're going to like allow these weird phoenix like conversations to for our lives to be embodiments of that, and each of us has the opportunity to do that in different ways. So, I mean, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And we can communicate in different ways. I keep leading the witness, like, is there one right way? And there is no one right way to
I
call in an
don't think
angel.
so.
My favorite lately, though, is in your book, and I was so happy I saw that today, which is calling Archangel Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, singing to the angels because of the
Yeah.
frequency, because of the vibration, because of the attunement, which is the
Yeah.
goofiest thing that you really want to do, or maybe only in the shower to start. But why not?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that, yeah, I think the goofier and more open and like celebratory that you're willing to get with spirit, that makes you more attractive to the spirit. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, the way that sometimes we learn to pray is very like humble, very small, and you have to like have your craft together. But what I'm seeing down on the ground here is that spirit responds to emotion and bigness and displays of like honor. And to me, when you're singing to spirit, it's like a beautiful offering. It's an offering of your love, of your emotion, of your energy. And I feel it captures people's attention. And I just recently over the last several weeks, I launched a new program called Divine Magic Mastery.
Mhm.
And the entire goal of that was to help people become more attractive to benevolent spirits. And I think that, this year really had to start bridging the gap between like, yeah, you can pray, and invocation's cool, but it's time for all of us to step up our game. And singing was a big part of it, and dancing, Michael.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And that is something we do a lot of here, and we've learned from Ruru the rooster, because if you spend time close to a rooster, particularly a hormonally charged pubescent
Ooh, I
rooster,
love,
they
I
put
love
out a
roosters.
wing, and it's like 10 feathers come out instead of 5 feathers. It's 10
Ooh,
feathers. And they're spinning in one circle, and they're spinning in another circle. And if you go with it, you find yourself spinning and dancing, and you realize this is a connection. This is the
this is
joy
it.
that helps bring it in.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Michael, I have to show you this thing. I went on a walk with a really it's a virtual circle, but I was talking to some really beautiful, powerful people. And and we were, talking about our year, like, like ladies, I mean, not having to be overly spiritual, just telling the truth about, kind of the challenges of this year and the blessings of the year. But as I was walking and I saw all of these feathers. Um, and I'd never seen so. I was walking for a long time, and I just kept on running into piles and piles of feathers. So that could mean that yeah, there's maybe a hawk that is having a particular like homicidal streak, or I mean that's one option,
True.
but but if you look at it from indigenous practices, which I also follow, when you see an excessive amount of feathers, they are often signs of angels, but also more indigenously, they're signs of healing and hope.
Mhm.
And so this is the pile.
Wow.
There's about, I don't know how many in different, but it was all of the same kind of bird. And there's no way it was the same bird
Mhm.
that it was happening from. And it's a dove, and it's about peace. So you talking about your rooster dancing, waving his feathers around, shamanically or from indigenous people, feathers are conduits of the divine energy and can help cleanse us. And so that rooster doing its wing dance is like, calling, doing a deep cleansing, but also absorbing the light from above. So I just happen to have this like right here, strangely. But I just want to say that was the feeling that I got from your roosters. Like they're showing us how to dance with the divine, how to move dark energy out and call in this amazing medicine that's
If
around us.
if I lean forward like this and I move past the light, I'm looking to see. I don't
No.
see any this second, but the number one bird that has showed up since we moved into this house is the dove.
No way, Michael.
So, and we have had consistently a dozen doves. They seem to come two by two with their mate, but we have a dozen doves that come here each morning. Now we have hummingbirds and we have some other birds that are coming, but it's the doves that came in first.
Yeah, I mean, this is my first experience with so much dove energy. How amazing you're having that experience. You're a soul brother, man. Like,
Absolutely. It goes both
you're,
ways.
yeah, you're a soul brother. Yeah, so the good news, right? The dove is about calling in peace. And this new era that is upon us after the solstice in 2021 and the sixth sun or the age of Aquarius or whatever it is, I feel like we have the choice to call in peace. And it doesn't mean getting rid of the darkness. It means, peace means you own the dark and the light. You're bridging the gap between those two forces. And that's what this meant for me.
Which is a continuation of the interview from earlier today, which is a magnet always has two poles on it. If you cut it in half, it still has two poles. If you cut it in half, it always has two poles. Your job is to be the bridge right in the middle. Because if you put yourself too much on one side, you get out of balance with the other. You're meant to be the bridge.
Oh my gosh, I just had that talk with my people this morning. Oh my gosh, I always love talking to you, Michael, because we're like, hey, yeah, me too, me too, me too, me too. But
So,
it's so in the moment and the right pulse.
so give me more. I love this concept of how we can become more attractive to our angels. Hey, angel. How
Yeah.
do we become more attractive to this energy?
Here's the biggest thing I can say is the more adept you are at shifting your vibration into openness, into joy, into authenticity, into honesty, into emotion. So people think like in order for angels to look at me or see me, I have to be like positive. That's not the truth. You just have to be authentic. And so if you are in the middle of an ugly cry with a huge devastation and you beg and you plead, that sends shockwaves out. And though our helpers come to support us in that. And also, if you're standing up in your magician self and you're magical and you're staying in your sternness and like, I am part of God, that works too. But it's not required. I think that the veil is, when I say veil, in our case, I'm talking about these shells that we wear
Mhm.
of our persona, these masks that we wear. I have to be a good mother, a good wife, a good sister, a good daughter, a good father, all of these things. And, so many times we don't that we have zero ability to show our full self. I the energy that I'm receiving now is like when it comes to spirit, you ugly cry, you show your weakness, you show your broken bones. And if you're a server or a helper or someone who is leading like yourself, leading communities, you best give yourself space to be broken in front of something or someone. And spirit will help you with that. Like we can be all of ourselves. So like you're broken again, authenticity, joy, um, share your joy, share your authenticity, share your pain, but don't hide. There's no limits, is what I'm saying when it comes to our experience right now and what's going to be celebrated from spirit.
Thank you, because so many people in the New Thought movement have gotten too wrapped up in the concept, what you think about, you bring about, and therefore I can't share from the muck and the mire. Instead of saying, holy beep, I need some beep help right
Yes.
beep now, please, but beep, do it.
Yeah.
That's the emotion, and that emotion, energy in motion, is going to call in the help.
Right. Yeah, that's the authenticity that I'm talking about. Spirit has always shown me, and I feel like, the fact that they allow me to be my fuller self, let me have a potty mouth, let me do just I've never felt a demand from spirit that I had to be anything other than I was in my full humanness. And it was, it took some retraining in my brain about like what I've heard versus the reality. And I feel that there's a huge fragmentation in the spiritual community, and we're seeing the gargoyles that we have created for each other by believing we had to be just spiritual, because then it means we have to be perfect or have our shit together or whatever. And at this stage of where we're at, it's about authenticity from the bones. Be broken, be honest, and have the audacity to share that brokenness with each other.
Very, very cool. I have a book right now that Jessica and we've committed to reading to over this holiday season. It has admittedly, limiting belief, been a challenge to get ahead on books with this show. And we went through a 3-week massive book edit that ended, thank you, angels, thank you, God, thank you, guys, on Friday night for our automatic writing experience. But I believe it's called 72 Angels of Magic, spelled with a
Yeah,
K at the end. You may know this book.
I know this book. Yes.
So how do you call in magic?
Yeah, again, it depends on the person. So, with the divine magic mastery that I'm doing, I'm actually diving deep into old school magic, like what you're
Yes.
diving into.
We're
I mean,
both
I'm
called
going,
to the same things at the same times.
I know it's so weird, but like down back to the classics, right? As opposed to just, I'm a channeler and I'm channeling the fifth dimension. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I am and spirit is super nudging me to get back to the roots of humanity, which is magic, which is, before the all the religions came to be, there's one thing that all humans all over the planet had that was in common, and that was magic. That was a profound relationship with spirit, a profound relationship with the land. And that is the only reason why I feel we were able to not just survive, but thrive, is because there was an opening, a relationship. So, yes, the best way to encounter magic at this stage, I feel like, is to come at it with authenticity. I don't believe that there's rules at this stage,
Mhm.
but I think you can kick, scream, but you best to have some gratitude, and you best ask. And if you can't have gratitude, you ask for an opening in your heart and mind to see the true blessing it is to be alive right now.
Thank you, which means if we're looking for the opening, you have so many here. I'm going to list all of some of the possible openings, and maybe you can dive into one or two of your favorites. So we're looking at angel signs. You got to feathers. There's feathers, lights, signs, literally, nature, recurring number, people, music, dreams, synchronicities, social media, touch, and of course my favorite, angel bumps.
Oh, you love those the most, getting the angel
Well, it
bumps?
feels to me, and Jessica's like, you're just saying that. No, it really does feel like I'm getting a
It
feather
does.
brushing up and down my arms.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's a variety of signs that will, especially in the beginning, show you're in contact with the divine. But none of them matter unless you solve one thing, which is to open your mind to the possibility that they are real. You don't have to believe in it, but you do have to learn to trust your experience and all of those things that seem like coincidence. Oh, that angel song happened to turn on the radio, or wow, I just felt something like I just felt like that brush up and down my arm just when I was calling in Archangel Michael.
Mhm.
Those little things are more important than the actual way that they communicate with you. If you do not have your own self doubt dialed down a little bit and get it out of the way, you'll miss everything.
So if we ignore the fact that we've had so many synchronicities that we've already discussed just from today alone,
Today.
before the Dr. John G. Martini show, Jessica made like an image a few days ago for a thumbnail for one of our YouTube events. And then
Mhm.
we go and look on his website today. And there is the exact stock image on his front page of his website that she chose out of, I don't know how many stock images there are in the world, 1 billion, maybe more than that, of people putting
Yeah.
up their images. And she goes, no, we just think alike. And she's actually more plugged in than me. So she gets it. But still, when you get that ooga booga moment and you go, there are no odds other than saying, thank you. What do we do?
Yeah. I mean, and so that's when like that is a collective, that is an image coming from the collective of conscious. And you have to see this because you need to share about it. And it's so interesting because I often, when I'm talking about to my communities about where we're in a sailboat, we're in a ship in the ocean, in a storm. And if you don't have a compass, what else do you need? You at least need a North Star. And to me, spirit is like a North Star. And so we're all in the ship and the winds are blowing and no one has this dialed down. And I don't care what spiritual um, leader we talk to, they have a bunch of theories. At this stage, nothing is pre written. It's going to be up to us. Our ships are at sea. There is a storm a brewing, a blowing, and it's all about how we can discover this inner compass and North Star and how we start moving in that direction, even if we can't see. We're blinded right now.
Thank you. So, a few last things, and we'll begin to wrap things up here. If we're going to talk about North Stars, I think we need to go to writing. Obviously, I'm biased with automatic writing there, but also we need some sort, would you agree, of a daily routine so that we don't forget to make sure our ship is pointed each and every day in the right
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah. The most simple version I have of that right now is we wake up in the morning and we ask, "Hey, how can I serve? What's my task just for today?" And then because we're all experiencing life as we are right now, what can I do to support my own life, support my own love, support my family, support my community, support the world? So it's not just about this pie in the sky like I'm here being of service. We need to honor the fact that we need to open our hearts and our minds to what we need for ourselves first as well. So it's that first question, what can I do for myself? How can I serve the collective, my family? And to me, that's my North Star because many times over this last year, I had no clue. And that was when it all got stripped down and I didn't even have the strength to do an invocation anymore. I'm just like laid out, like, oh my God, could things get more weird? Ah, how can I serve? Just give me one step.
Is that what you call sacred action?
Yeah, that's what I call sacred action. And I think that that's a huge piece, especially as we're heading into this next year. There's a time when prayer was cute and supportive. You just pray and hope and send blessings. And now, more than ever, it's really about action and taking those sacred actions for our family, for ourselves. And a lot of them are quirky and impractical, but taking those actions that we're guided to take so that perhaps and quite possibly there can be a better opportunity for humanity and our children to come.
Woohoo! Bringing it full circle to impracticability. You talked about at the beginning resilience, about you were teaching to your community. This is a time where we have to get more flexible. The more that we do the ridiculous things, the things that don't make sense to the linear-based mind, like ourselves leaving our home behind. We went on the road this fall for 2 months in an RV with a rooster as our co-pilot, I want to say.
Michael, that's really impractical, okay? Love it.
It is. And you get back and you look at the business which you put on hold for a couple months and you go, my God, what have I done? My God, what have I not done? Because that is what's building the resilience. That is going through the portal. That is going through on a leap of faith that no matter what, you are taken care of. You are protected. You are going to come out the other side better than you ever started.
Yes. Yes. I think it's genius. I just love that. It's the perfect example. Like going on the road with a rooster.
3 cats and a rooster in one RV.
Three cats and
Amen.
come on. That says it all.
Last thing that I have, well, actually, before I do that, where can people go to find your beautiful book and to find out more?
Yeah, well, they can go to my website, Corin Grillo, CoringRillo.com, to go and see what I'm up to. I think right now I'm doing on my landing page, you can find a 7-week angel intuitive course. You can read about my communities. And if you want to find my book, The Angel Experiment, you can get that at your local. I mean, I'm really supporting local bookstores right now. So if you have a local bookstore, please check there first. And if not, you can find it on Barnes and Noble or Amazon. And it really is, angels. It's about angels. They're helping a lot of people through this work, and I'm really just baffled and shocked that I get to be part of it.
If you had looked back, I don't know, 10 years, 15 years ago, before this took place, and you looked at who you are now, other than saying Prozac and a padded room,
And a bottle of tequila. Yeah. Um, there's no way. I was not born into this life. There was no angel spoon given to me. I was born in a very severe upbringing, childhood, violent alcoholism. I hated myself. I had zero confidence most of my life, and I started wanting to officially die at the age of 18. And I had zero purpose. And so there is zero way that I would be able to do what I do without the angels, without spirit, without my authentic connection to life itself and to the medicine that spirit gives us. So no, I mean, the whole thing is insane. I mean, what I'm doing right now, it's like crazy insane. It's more insane than 2020, and that says a lot.
isn't that cool though that the book of your life is not boring and you have no clue? The worst thing you can do is try to hurry the page because then you're going to tear it. But this is juicy. This is better than a Joseph Campbell arc. You have no clue how you got here on one level, on another level you do, and you have no clue where you're going,
I
which is
don't.
kind of the beauty and the bliss of this if we can let go of the I need it to be some way, because whatever way you need it to be ain't going to be the way it's coming to you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you can, again, it was the message that came through from my community was about in 2020, 21. If you're not calling in this one energy, call in flexibility. Flexibility in your mind, your ability to hold someone else's opinion seems opposing to yours with a flexible mind, like with an openness. And instead of saying, "How could you believe this?" It's more like, how can I understand this person more? And that to me is flexibility. And I feel like in my vision of where we're headed as a human race, that's the beautiful vision I'm holding for us, where we can hold each other in our wounding, in our trauma, in our differences, and be more curious about our response to things than we are about how can you land in that, weird place, right?
Beautiful. Last question I have. As people are going into the new year, into their new, truly their new you, using angels, sounds so weird. I don't mean to use you, angels, but thank you for your help. But how do we work with the angels to call in a better, brighter future?
I think step number one is letting go of your grudges about your life as it is today, because we have a potential to be rebirthed fully. If you really look at some of the energies in astrology and Toltec wisdom and whatever, there is a whole new thing being born. So we can let go of our old stories,
Mhm.
but we have to acknowledge them and be willing to say, okay, that let's just reset that, because maybe that was my conditioning. Maybe that wasn't just me. And also inviting in a higher vision for your life as opposed to micromanaging the future vision for your life. You invite in well, what else is possible? What else is possible for me? What else is possible for our planet, for our country? And I think it's just a lot of release work, essentially releasing the past and releasing your your grips on your future. We're thinking for everyone right now, not just us in the next 50 years, but we're setting the tone for what may be accomplished in the next 100 years, 200 years. So if you knew that your job mentally was that important, How would you rearrange yourself?
Awesome. Any last words you want to share, Corinne?
Oh my gosh, I just want to give a lot of gratitude to you for the work that you're doing.
Nice.
No, for real. Like I feel really blessed to have this conversation with you. There's been enough synchronicities just in this one conversation where I feel like I'm on the right track. And I just want to say to, if there's anybody else doesn't, that has a sense that they're capable of more, but doesn't fully believe they're capable of it, just like I was, um, think again. Now's the time to rethink it all and to invite in the medicine that spirit gave us to cure that wound, and so we can step into our greater mission.
Woohoo!
Weehoo!
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love giving thank you to the angels. I will end my automatic writing, my prayers, everything with thank you. Thank you, Corinne. This has been beautiful.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Oh, such a pleasure to be here. And we're going to just give some serious props to the angels. And if you guys don't believe in angels, today's a good day to start. Just start talking to them and asking them for support and giving them love.
I love it. So, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the angel experiment, and begin experimenting with your angels today. And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! I had so much fun with Corinne because she is a homie in talking with angels. And if you want to learn how to talk with angels yourself, learn automatic writing. Our book, The Automatic Writing Experience, is now for sale on Amazon. It'll teach you how to turn your journaling into channeling, how to go quiet, dive deep, communicate with the angels, ask your deepest questions, get direction from the other side of the veil. It's The Automatic Writing Experience. You can also find out about it at automaticwriting.com. Now, to find out more or check out more amazing videos to change your life and communicate with angels, click here, subscribe below, and be sure to click on the bell icon to be notified of upcoming shows, YouTube premieres, live events with me. Big thumbs up if you like this. Leave your comments. Love you guys so much. Shine bright. Woohoo!